I found my card maxed. $25,000 gone before my birthday. Dad said the family needed it. Mom laughed. I said, "Don't ever call again," and left. That night, I quietly canceled the mortgage, truck, and her loan. Tomorrow I will be 26 years old. I stand in front of the mirror in the tiny bathroom I share with my roommate, trying to do something with my hair after a 10-hour shift at the restaurant. I smell like fried shrimp and disappointment. That's the cocktail that accompanies my workdays at Sea Delicacies. My room is the size of a large wardrobe, but it's mine. The rent is $500 a month for 12 square meters of space, which barely fits a single bed, a small table, and a chair from a thrift store. On the windowsill is a microwave and an electric kettle. My kitchen. The refrigerator is tiny with only one shelf, but it's enough for yogurt, bread, and ready-made salads from work. Every morning when I wake up here, I feel proud. No one can tell me when to go to bed or who to date. No one criticizes my choice of clothes or job. Freedom smells like cheap detergent and sounds like my neighbor's music through the wall, but it's my freedom. 3 years ago, when I moved out of my parents' house, my mother stood at the gate with her arms crossed and said, "We'll see how long you can last without our help. A month, 2 at most, and you'll crawl back." My father was silent then, just shaking his head and muttering something under his breath about ungrateful children. Today marks exactly 3 years and 133 days. I'm counting not out of stubbornness, but because every day of independence is difficult for me, but it's my choice. Every morning when the alarm goes off at 7, every shift at the restaurant where I have to smile at strangers and put up with their complaints, these are all my decisions, my responsibility. Working at Sea Delicacies isn't my lifelong dream, but it allows me to survive. Manager Terry is a bit of a strange guy who constantly reminds us that he's doing us a huge favor, but he pays on time and doesn't bother us. My colleagues are different. There's Charlotte, who has been working here for 7 years and tells everyone about her plans to become an actress. There's Marcus, a 20-year-old guy who is studying culinary arts part-time and dreams of opening his own restaurant. The tips are pretty good, especially on weekends when families with children come in. Kids always make a mess, but their parents pay extra for that. And then there are the regulars. Mr. Greenberg, who orders the same thing every Friday. Seafood soup and Caesar salad, no anchovies. He always leaves exactly 15% tip and asks how college is going. I haven't been to college in 2 years, but I don't have the heart to tell him. Tomorrow is my birthday, and for the first time in many years, I plan to celebrate it. Nothing fancy. I'll just go to the movies by myself, buy some caramel popcorn, and then eat at that Chinese restaurant on Main Street where they serve delicious Peking duck for $12.95. I've already picked out a dress. Dark blue with short sleeves, bought on sale at Target 6 months ago. But most importantly, tomorrow I will finally take the first step toward realizing my biggest dream. I've been saving money for a car for 2 years. Not a new one, of course, but something reliable that will get me to work without depending on bus routes and drivers' moods. Bus number 37, which I take to work, runs every 20 minutes, but only until 9 in the evening. After that, I have to wait for the night bus, which runs once an hour, or call a taxi for $15. In winter, it's cold at the bus stops. In summer, cars often break down because of the heat. And on buses, there is always an unpleasant smell and music blaring from other people's headphones. $25,000 is an amount I've never held in my hands at once, but it's there, in my account. On the first of every month, I transfer everything I can from my salary account to my credit account. Sometimes $300, sometimes $500 if I got a lot of tips. I keep track in a notebook, how much I've saved, how much is left to reach my goal. I want to check my balance again just to make sure everything is in place. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to the dealer to look at that 2019 Honda Civic. I open the bank app on my phone, enter my password, and wait for it to load. $0, 0 cents. My heart stops for a second. Then it starts beating so fast that my vision darkens. I refresh the page. 0 again. Maybe it's a glitch in the app? I close it and open it again. Same result. I call the bank's automated information service. A robot voice informs me that my current balance is $0.00. The last transaction was a cash withdrawal of $25,000 yesterday, May 19th, at 4:40 p.m. I was at work at the time, serving a family with 3 children, an 8-year-old boy and twins, who were no more than 5 years old. They threw a tantrum because there was no children's menu and demanded nuggets, which we didn't have. The parents sat staring at their phones and did not react to the children's cries. I remember this very well because I had to ask Terry to make an exception and order nuggets from the nearby McDonald's. My hands are shaking as I dial the bank's support number. The hold music is some boring instrumental version of a popular song. I wait 23 minutes, counting the rings and trying not to panic, until finally a real person answers. "Good evening. This is First Trust Bank. My name is Jessica. How can I help you?" "Good evening. All the money has disappeared from my account. $25,000. I didn't withdraw it." "I understand your concern, ma'am. What is your last name?" "Campbell, Lara Campbell." "Let me check. The transaction was made with your credit card yesterday at 4:40 p.m. at an ATM on Elm Street near the shopping center. The PIN was entered correctly on the first try." "That's impossible. I was at work at that time. I have witnesses." "Ms. Campbell, perhaps you gave someone access to the card? A family member, for example?" "A family member." A cold lump forms in my stomach. "My parents. They're the only ones who know my PIN. I gave it to them last year when I was in the hospital with appendicitis and asked them to withdraw money to pay for a private room." "No," I say, but my voice is shaking. "No one has access to my card." "In that case, we strongly advise you to contact the police. We will also launch an internal investigation, but it may take between 15 and 30 business days." 30 days. In 30 days, I'll lose the 20% discount the dealer promised me. I dial my mother's number. She answers after the 5th ring, her voice sleepy. "Lara?" "What's wrong?" "It's late." "Mom, all the money is gone from my account. $25,000. The bank says it was withdrawn last night." A long pause. I hear her talking to someone in the background. "Mom, are you there?" "Yes, honey, listen, this is very strange. Maybe someone saw your PIN code?" "Mom, only you and Dad know that code." Another long pause. "Lara, let's not discuss this on the phone. Come to our house and we'll figure everything out calmly." I'm going to my parents' house on bus number 37. The houses I've known since childhood flash by outside the window, but today it all seems foreign, as if I'm looking at the set of a movie about someone else's life. One thought keeps running through my head. They couldn't have. No, they couldn't have taken my money without permission. They're my parents. I knock on the familiar white door. Mom opens it with a smile that quickly disappears when she sees the look on my face. "Come in. Come in." Dad's in the kitchen. He's sitting at the same wooden table with a newspaper in his hands and doesn't even look up when I enter. "Dad, did you hear what I told Mom on the phone?" He finally looks at me over the newspaper and takes off his reading glasses. "Oh, the money. Yes, we took it." The world seems to stop. "What do you mean? You took it?" "The family needed it more." He looks back at the newspaper as if we were discussing the weather. "But it's my money. I saved it for 3 years." Mom laughs. She just laughs, as if I said something funny. "Lara, don't be so selfish. We're your parents. We had an urgent need, and you're still living like a student in that closet of yours." "What urgent need for all my savings?" "We bought tickets to Europe," Dad says. "We've always dreamed of seeing Paris and Rome, and at our age, there's no time to waste." "Tomorrow is my birthday." "We know," Mom shrugs. "Celebrate it yourself. We have better plans." I look at them. The woman who gave birth to me and the man who taught me to ride a bike. They are sitting in the kitchen I remember from my childhood, but they are strangers. "When will you be back? Why should we come back?" Dad puts down the newspaper. "You are our daughter. Everything we have will be yours someday." I get up from my chair. I walk to the door calmly without rushing. "Lara, where are you going?" my mother shouts. I turn around at the threshold. "Then don't ever call me again." And I leave, quietly closing the door behind me. I go back to my room and sit on the bed, staring at the wall. My hands are shaking. My heart is beating so loudly that I think the neighbors can hear it. Music is playing behind the wall, the same song Kaylee listens to every night. Usually it annoys me, but today I'm even glad there's some sound to fill the silence in my head. $25,000, 3 years of saving, 3 years of denying myself everything except the bare necessities. 3 years of dreaming about my own car, about freedom of movement, about not having to depend on bus schedules and the whims of the weather. And they just took that money, as if it were theirs, as if it were their due for giving birth to me and raising me. Finally, I allow myself to cry. At first quietly, then louder and louder until it turns into real sobbing. I'm not just crying because of the money. I'm crying because the people I trusted most in the world turned out to be capable of such a thing. I cry because tomorrow is my birthday, and there is nothing to celebrate. I sit like this for about an hour, until it becomes easier to breathe and my tears dry up. I go to the small sink, wash my face with cold water, and look at myself in the mirror. My eyes are red. My hair is tousled. But something in my expression has changed. It's as if someone else is looking at me from the mirror. I sit down at the table and turn on my laptop. It's an old Dell that I bought 2 years ago at a sale of refurbished equipment for $150. It boots up slowly and I wait, trying not to think about what happened, but the thoughts keep creeping into my head. I remember when I was 17, my parents said I had to sign some papers just in case. "Lara, it's a general power of attorney," my dad explained, sitting at this very kitchen table. "It's just a formality. If something happens to you, we'll be able to help with banking, hospital stuff, things like that." My mom nodded, standing next to him. "All parents do this. But remember, you can't use it until you turn 18. It's just for safety." It seemed reasonable to me at the time. I trusted them completely. I signed without reading it because they said it was a standard document. And then, when I turned 23, they asked me to sign another paper. "Daughter, now it's your turn," my mother said at the time. "We also want you to have power of attorney over us. Anything can happen. Dad isn't young anymore, and my blood pressure is all over the place. It's better to be safe than sorry." And I signed again, because I loved them and wanted to help, because I thought that family was people who would always be on your side. Now I realize how foolish I was. The laptop finally booted up. I go to the old chest of drawers by the window and open the bottom drawer. There, under a stack of old-school notebooks and photographs, is a folder with documents, birth certificate, diploma, medical card, room rental agreement, and here it is. 2 general powers of attorney. One is mine for my parents, signed 3 years ago. The second is theirs for me, signed 8 years ago. I take the document and read it carefully. I never used to read the fine print, trusting my parents to explain everything correctly. Now I read every word. "I authorize you to perform the following actions on my behalf and in my interests: managing bank accounts, including opening and closing accounts, depositing and withdrawing funds, applying for and closing loans." My heart starts beating faster. I read on. "The validity of this power of attorney is limited to the principal reaching the age of majority." Stop. Limited to reaching the age of majority. That means I couldn't use it until I was 18. But now I'm 25. This condition no longer applies. I turn on my laptop and open my browser. I Google General Power of Attorney Banking Transactions Loan Cancellation. I get a bunch of results, most of which are ads for law firms. But there are a few useful articles. I read for an hour, then another hour. I learned that a person with a general power of attorney can indeed cancel credit obligations if they are a co-borrower or guarantor. I remember that when my parents took out a mortgage on their house 5 years ago, they asked me to sign some papers as additional security. At the time, I didn't understand what that meant, but now I guess I do. I find a website offering free legal advice. I register under a fake name and write a question. Good afternoon. I have a general power of attorney from my parents, signed 8 years ago. Can I use it to cancel their loans if I am a co-borrower? The answer comes in 20 minutes. If you are indeed a co-borrower and have a valid general power of attorney with no time restrictions, then you are legally entitled to take such action. However, we advise you to carefully check all documents and possible consequences. Possible consequences. Yes, I understand. If I do this, there will be no turning back. But did they leave me a choice? I keep looking. I find out that to cancel the loan, I need to come to the bank in person with a power of attorney and documents confirming my identity. Or I can call if the bank has signed the relevant agreements. I look at the clock on my laptop. It's 9 in the morning. The banks are already open. But first, I need to make sure that I am indeed a co-borrower on their loans. I open the folder with the documents again and search. I find a copy of the mortgage loan agreement. Yes, my name is at the bottom as a joint debtor. I don't remember anyone explaining this to me at the time. I pick up the phone and call First National Bank, where my parents took out their mortgage. I wait on hold for 15 minutes. Good afternoon, this is the lending department. How can I help you? Good afternoon. I need to clarify some information about the loan. I am a co-borrower. Of course. Please provide the loan agreement number. I dictate the number from the document. Let me check. Yes, a loan for $380,000, issued 5 years ago. The primary borrower is Robert Campbell and the co-borrower is Laura Campbell. Are you Laura? Yes, that's me. What exactly are you interested in? My heart is pounding. I want to cancel this loan. Pause. Ms. Campbell, early repayment of the loan requires the consent of all parties to the agreement or I have a general power of attorney from the primary borrower. Is that enough? If the power of attorney is valid and includes authority for credit transactions, then yes, you will need to come to the branch with the documents. I hang up the phone. My hands are shaking, but not from fear anymore, but from excitement. It's possible. It's really possible. I quickly get dressed. Jeans, a simple white t-shirt, sneakers. I grab a bag and put all the documents in it. The power of attorney, my passport, copies of the loan agreements. I leave the house. The bank is in the city center, about a 20-minute bus ride away. I sit by the window and look at the street, but my thoughts are elsewhere. What am I doing? Is this right? They are my parents, no matter what. But then I remember yesterday's conversation in the kitchen. My mother's laughter when I mentioned my birthday. My dad's indifferent. Why pay it back? Their confidence that they have a right to my money simply because they are my parents. Number. They were the first to break my trust. They were the first to forget that family is not about taking, but about supporting each other. The bank is large with marble floors and high ceilings. I approach the information desk. Good afternoon, I need to go to the credit department. 3rd floor, room 315. I take the elevator up. I have butterflies in my stomach, but I keep going. In the lending department, I wait in line for another 20 minutes before I'm invited to see the manager, a young man in his 30s wearing glasses and a blue suit. Good afternoon. Did you call about the Campbell family's loan? Yes, I want to cancel my parents' mortgage. I have a general power of attorney. He carefully studies the documents and checks something on the computer. Ms. Campbell, formally you do have such authority, but this is a rather unusual situation. Do you understand the consequences? I understand. The bank will demand immediate repayment of the entire debt. Currently, it amounts to $243,000. I understand. He prints out some papers. Then sign here, here, and here. Borrowers have 48 hours to repay the debt, otherwise the collection process will begin. I sign. My hand is shaking, but the signature comes out even. The next stop is United Credit Bank, where Dad took out a loan for a truck. Same procedure, same result. The debt is $12,000. The last stop is Citibank, where my mother took out a personal loan last year, $8,000 in debt. By evening, everything is finished. I return home by bus and sit pressed against the window. What have I done? Was it the right thing to do? But then I remember that feeling of helplessness when I found out the money was gone. I remember their faces yesterday, indifferent, self-assured, convinced of their right to control my life. Maybe this isn't the best way to resolve the conflict, but it's the only way they left me. I'm sitting at home on my bed with the documents in my hands. Tomorrow my parents will find out that their loans have been canceled. They will find out that they have to find $263,000 in 48 hours. And only then, perhaps, will they understand that I am no longer that naive girl who signs papers without reading them and trusts unconditionally. The phone is silent. So far, they know nothing, flying to Europe on my money and thinking that everything is the same as before. But tomorrow, everything will change. 3 days pass quietly. I go to work, serve tables, smile at customers as if nothing has changed. Terry even notices that I've been pensive lately but doesn't insist on talking. Charlotte talks about another audition for a role in a soap commercial. Marcus shares a recipe for a new sauce. Everything looks normal, but something has changed inside. It's as if I've suddenly grown up. Or maybe I've just finally seen the light. On Wednesday evening, when I came home from work and had just taken off my uniform, the phone rang. My mother's number was on the screen. "Lara, what the hell have you done?" Her voice is so loud that I have to move the phone away from my ear. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb." "The banks are calling. They say we have to pay off all our loans in 48 hours. $263,000. Do you understand what that means?" I sit on the edge of the bed and look at my bare feet. Yes, I understand. It means you'll have to pay back my $25,000. Yours? What do you mean, yours? We are your parents. Everything we have will be yours someday. And everything I have is already yours, right? I hear her yelling something to my dad in the background. Then he comes to the phone. "Lara, cancel this madness immediately. We can't pay that kind of money, and I can't get back the 3 years of my life I spent saving. Do you realize what you're doing? We could end up homeless, and I was going to end up without dreams. Now we're even." I hang up. My heart is pounding, but I feel strangely calm. It's as if I've been holding my breath for a long time and finally exhaled. The phone rings again and again. I turn off the sound and go to bed. The next morning begins with a dozen missed calls and just as many text messages. I read a few. "Lara, you're destroying your family. Call immediately and fix this mistake. How can you do this to your own parents?" I delete all the messages and go to work. I work as usual at the restaurant, but during my lunch break, Terry approaches me with a worried look on his face. "Lara, some people came here looking for you. A man and a woman. They were talking very loudly and demanded that I call you." My heart skips a beat. What did they say? Something about you being their daughter and getting into trouble. I said you were at work and couldn't talk to visitors. They started shouting that it was an emergency. "Sorry for the inconvenience. It's a personal matter. Lara, if you're having any problems, you can take a few days off." "Thanks, but I'll be fine." I work the rest of my shift feeling like I'm being watched. I look back several times, but I don't see anyone I know. At 6 in the evening, I leave work and go to the bus stop. Halfway there, I notice a familiar figure standing by a tree. It's my dad. He's standing there looking at me. My heart starts beating faster, but I keep walking as if I don't see him. "Lara!" I don't turn around. "Lara, stop!" I hear footsteps behind me. He catches up with me at the intersection. Finally. "Mom and I have been looking for you all day." I was at work, as usual. "Listen to me carefully." His voice is quiet but threatening. "We have 48 hours. 36 of them have already passed. You go to the banks immediately and cancel this nonsense." "No." He grabs my arm, hard, painfully. "Don't you understand who you're messing with?" We gave birth to you. We raised you. You owe us. I try to break free, but his grip is strong. Let me go. I won't let you go until you promise to fix what you've done. People are walking by, but no one pays any attention. Another family quarrel on the street. Dad, you're hurting me. Doesn't it hurt you that you're destroying your own family? I finally manage to break free. My hand is red from his fingers. You destroyed it yourself when you stole my money. I walk away, but he follows me. Lara! This conversation isn't over. I get on the number 37 bus and look out the window. He's standing at the bus stop watching me go. At home, with trembling hands, I dial the police number. Good evening, Family Conflict Department. Good evening. I need advice on filing a restraining order. I'm listening. I explain the situation without going into details about money and loans. I just say that we have a conflict with my parents, that they are threatening me and stalking me. Ma'am, to file such a request, you need to come to court in person tomorrow before noon. The address is... I write down the address. After the conversation, I sit on the bed and think, what has it come to? I'm taking my own parents to court. But then I remember my father's grip, his threatening tone. These are no longer parents who want to protect me. These are people who are trying to intimidate me. In the evening, the phone rings again. This time, I pick up the receiver. Lara, my daughter. Let's talk calmly. My mother's voice is soft and persuasive. Your father and I have thought about it. Maybe we rushed into that trip. Maybe you rushed into stealing my money. Don't call it stealing. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Okay. Tell me what you want. We'll give the money back. Just give us some time. When? Well, in 6 months, maybe a year. We need to sort out our loans. And I needed to sort out my dreams. You have 30 hours. Lara, that's impossible. We don't have that kind of money. Then you shouldn't have taken it. I hang up and turn off my phone. The next morning, I go to court. The building is gray, gloomy, and smells of old papers and deprivation. I fill out a restraining order application for a distance of no less than 20 meters. I indicate the reason: threats of physical violence and persecution. The hearing is scheduled for the day after tomorrow at 10 in the morning, says the clerk. The defendants will be notified today. I leave the court and realize that there is definitely no turning back now. But when I return home, I find a note in my mailbox. Lara, you have one last chance. Fix what you've done by tonight, or you'll regret it. The note is unsigned, but the handwriting is my mother's. I sit in my room and think, they are not going to back down, and I'm running out of options for defense. The application has been filed, but the hearing is not until the day after tomorrow. What will happen until then? And then I remember. I also have a general power of attorney, the same one that allowed my parents to withdraw my money. I open the folder with the documents and reread the text of their power of attorney in my name. Yes, it also says management of bank accounts, including withdrawal of funds. I pick up the phone and call their bank. Good afternoon. I need to know the account balance. I have a general power of attorney. I dictate my parents' details and the account numbers I remember from childhood. My dad always told me them in case of an emergency. Current account, $31,000. Savings account, $42,000. $73,000. More than enough to pay back my $25,000. Tell me, can I withdraw cash with a power of attorney? Yes, if the power of attorney is valid. You need to come to the branch in person with your documents. I look at my watch. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Banks are open until 5. I quickly get dressed and head to the city center. On the way, I think, is this right? They are my parents, after all. But they did the same thing to me. And they are not going to stop. I wait in line at the bank for 15 minutes. When it's my turn, I put the power of attorney and my passport on the table. I want to withdraw $25,000 from Robert and Susan Campbell's accounts. The cashier carefully examines the documents and checks something on the computer. Everything is in order. But that's a lot of cash. Do you need help carrying it? No, thank you. Put it in an envelope. $25,000 weighs more than I thought. The envelope is thick and heavy. I put it in my bag and go home. On the way, my phone rings. It's Dad. Laura, we saw you at the bank. What were you doing there? How quickly they found out. They must have set up alerts on the accounts. I took back what you stole. You withdrew our money? I withdrew exactly as much as you withdrew from mine, $25,000. Now we're even. Laura, we were supposed to use that money to pay off our loans. Don't you understand what you've done? I understand. Now you understand what you've done. But we booked a trip. We already paid for the hotels. That's your problem. Laura, you're crazy. We'll find you. We'll make you give the money back. I hang up and turn off my phone. At home, I hide the envelope under the mattress. $25,000. My $25,000 returned. But for some reason, I don't feel satisfied. Only tiredness and emptiness. What have I done? Was it the right thing to do? It's getting dark outside. Tomorrow is the court hearing. Tonight my parents will find out that they don't have enough money to pay off their loans, and they'll find out that they're not allowed to come near me. I sit on my bed with the envelope in my hands and think, maybe I've gone too far. But they left me no choice. They wanted me to remain a submissive girl who works for them and doesn't dare to argue. But that girl died 3 days ago when she found out about the disappearance of her savings. Now they are dealing with the real me, and I don't think they're going to like it. The day after the court hearing, when the restraining order officially took effect, the silence is broken by the phone. The number is unfamiliar, but the voice is my mother's. Laura, please don't hang up. I'm calling from my neighbor's phone. I listen silently. Honey, we've lost everything. The banks took the house. Dad lost his truck. We're left with just my old car and no money at all. There is genuine despair in her voice, and something stirs deep in my soul. She is my mother, after all. Laura, I know we made a terrible mistake. We had no right to take your money, but we are family. Mom, you crossed the line when you started threatening me. Dad was desperate. He didn't want to scare you. He just didn't know what to do. A long pause. Outside the window, raindrops hit the glass, like my thoughts collide with each other. What do you want? Your $25,000, the ones you took from our account. If we give them back to the banks, we'll at least partially cover our debts. What about my $25,000 that you spent on the trip? Laura, we can't get back what's already gone, but we can work something else out. I sit on the edge of the bed and think. Part of me wants to say no and hang up, but the other part, the part that remembers how Dad taught me to ride a bike and Mom read to me at night, whispers, maybe we should give them another chance. What do you suggest? We'll give you everything we have left. We can sell the car. It's worth about $30,000. We'll pay you back with interest. When? Another pause. We need time a year, maybe 2. We'll find work. We'll be able to pay you back. 1 year. Not a day more. Laura. Either a year or nothing. And it will be an official loan agreement. With interest. With collateral. I hear her consulting with her father in the background. Okay. We agree. Then tomorrow at noon at the notary on Main Street. Will you be there? We'll be there. I hang up and sit for a long time staring at the wall. What am I doing? Am I giving them another chance or prolonging my own suffering? The next day, I go to the notary an hour early. I want to have everything ready so there are no unpleasant surprises. The notary, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes, listens to me attentively. Ms. Campbell, do you understand that you are entering into a loan agreement with your parents? This is quite unusual. I understand, but it's necessary. Okay, the loan amount is $25,000. The repayment term is 12 months. The interest rate. How much? I think. Standard bank loans are currently at 15% per annum. But I'm not a bank. I'm their daughter. 10% per annum. Collateral? The borrower's car. A 2015 Toyota Camry. In the event of default, the collateral passes to the lender? Yes. She prints the agreement, and I sit and wait. Outside the notary's office window, people go about their business, buying coffee, arguing on the phone, rushing to work. Normal life where children don't borrow money from their parents against the collateral of their property. At 12 o'clock sharp, my parents walk in. They look terrible. Dad has lost weight. Mom has dark circles under her eyes. Their clothes are old and worn. They really have lost everything. "Hi, Lara," Mom says quietly, timidly. "Hi." Dad is silent, just nods. We sit down around the notary's table and she reads the terms of the agreement. Loan agreement between Lara Campbell, lender, and Robert and Susan Campbell. Borrower's loan amount, $25,000 repayment term. 12 months from the date of signing interest. 10% per annum collateral, a Toyota Camry car. Mom interrupts. "What if we repay earlier than the term?" "You can repay at any time. Interest is charged only for the actual time the loan is used." Dad finally speaks up. "Lara, are you sure you want this? We're a family." "That's exactly why I want it. So that we have clear terms and conditions, not mutual resentment." The notary continues. "In the event of failure to repay the loan within the specified period, the collateral, a Toyota Camry, will become the property of the lender without any additional obligations on the part of the borrowers." "What if we repay part of the amount but not the whole amount?" asks my mother. "Then the loan is considered unpaid and the collateral still passes to the lender." My parents look at each other. "Okay," says Dad, "we'll sign." All three of us sign. I hand them an envelope with $25,000 and they hand me the car keys and documents. "Thank you, daughter." Mom hugs me goodbye. "We'll pay it all back." We promise. Dad hugs me too, briefly and awkwardly. "I'm sorry for everything that happened. We were wrong." I watch them walk away through the window of the notary's office. They walk slowly, holding hands. They look old and tired. Maybe I'm really doing the right thing by giving them this chance. Months pass. At first, my parents call regularly. They tell me how they are looking for work, how they are trying to save money. Mom gets a job as a cleaner in an office. Dad is a warehouse worker. The salary is small, but they promise that by the end of the year, they will pay everything back. After 6 months, the calls become less frequent. After 8 months, they practically stop. When there is 1 month left before the deadline, I call them myself. "Mom, how are things going with the loan repayment?" "Oh, Lara, we have such problems here. Dad got sick and was bedridden for a month. I was the only one working. You understand." "How much have you saved?" "Well, about 5,000, maybe 6. We need a little more time." "Mom, there are 3 weeks left until the deadline." "Lara, you're our daughter. You're not really going to take our car away, are you? It was just a joke, right?" My heart sinks. "Mom, it's not a joke. It's an official contract. But we're family. Families forgive. Families also keep their promises. Lara, be reasonable. Without the car, we won't be able to do anything. How will we get to work?" "The way I did for 3 years, by bus." I hang up the phone. My hands are shaking. Did they really think I wouldn't demand repayment? That this whole contract was just a formality? The deadline passes. The money is not returned. I go to the same lawyer who helped draw up the contract. "Ms. Campbell, the terms of the contract have been violated. You have the right to go to court to collect the deposit." "How long will that take?" "If the borrowers don't object, a month or a month and a half. But it looks like they will object. Does that change anything?" "No. The contract is valid. The terms are clear. The court will uphold your claim. I file a lawsuit." A week later, my parents receive a summons. My mother calls in the evening, crying into the phone. "Lara, how could you? We're your parents. How could you not return the money you promised to return?" "We couldn't." We did everything we could. 5,000 out of 27 and a half is not everything you could have done. 27 and a half? 25,000 plus 10% per annum. You read the contract. Lara, we can't give up the car. It's all we have left. You should have thought about that a year ago. The hearing is scheduled for a month later. I ask for time off work and go to court. My parents are sitting on the opposite side of the courtroom with a lawyer who was probably assigned to them for free. The judge, a man in his 60s, carefully studies the documents. The case is clear. The loan agreement was concluded correctly. The terms were not fulfilled. The collateral passes to the plaintiff. My parents' lawyer tries to object. Your Honor, this is a family conflict. The parties are close relatives. Counsel, close relatives must also fulfill their obligations. The claim is granted. After the hearing, my parents approach me at the court exit. Lara, are you really going to do this? Dad looks at me with a new expression, as if he is seeing me for the first time. I already did. The car is mine. How will we live? The way I lived. On my salary. I walk to the parking lot where my dad's car is parked, an old but well-maintained gray metallic Toyota Camry. Dad follows me and pulls out the keys. Here, he says quietly. Take them. I take the keys. They are metal, warm from his hand. Lara, he suddenly grabs my hand. Do you understand that after this, it's over between us? You are no longer our daughter. I look into his eyes. The same eyes I looked into as a child, seeking protection and understanding. You stopped being my parents a year ago when you stole my money. He lets go of my hand and walks away. I get in the car and start the engine. It runs quietly, smoothly. It's a good car. As I drive out of the court parking lot, I see my parents standing on the sidewalk in the rearview mirror, watching me go. The next day, I drive to work in my own car. For the first time in 4 years, I don't have to wait for the bus, stand in a crowd, or breathe in other people's smells. In the evening, when I return home, a surprise awaits me near the house. My car is where I left it, but something is wrong. I walk closer and realize that all the windows are broken, as are the headlights, and the hood is bent as if it had been hit with an axe. There is a note on the windshield. If I can't have her, neither can you. It's my father's handwriting. I stand and look at what's left of the car. I don't feel anger, just a kind of cold exhaustion. Even now, even after everything, they can't just let it go. They can't accept that they've lost. I take out my phone and call the police. Destruction of property, I explain to the officer who arrives half an hour later. I have documents proving that the car is mine and I suspect who did it. The officer takes my statement and photographs the damage. Ma'am, is this a family conflict? It was. Not anymore. I understand. We will investigate. But I understand that my father will not be punished. At most, he will receive a fine and be required to pay damages. However, he does not have the money to pay damages. I call a tow truck. The car is taken to a repair shop. The next day, the mechanic calls me. Danny, a friend from school. Lara, I looked at your car. The roof is intact, the engine hasn't been touched, neither has the interior. Mostly external damage. It can be repaired. How much? For you. For $5,000, I'll make it like new. $5,000. I have that money. Part of what's left after returning $25,000 to my parents. And my new job allows me to afford such expenses. Do it. 2 weeks later, I pick up the repaired car. Danny wasn't lying. It looks like new. Even better than before the vandalism. I drive it to work, to the store, just to ride around town in the evening. Finally, I have the freedom of movement I dreamed of 4 years ago. But the strangest thing is that my parents don't call anymore. Never. It's as if they've decided they don't have a daughter. Maybe that's true. The daughter who obeyed and allowed them to use her is dead, and they don't need the one who's left. I've been working as a manager at the Blisk Beauty Salon on North Avenue for 8 months. Who would have thought that a girl who served shrimp in a restaurant for 3 years would be able to manage a team of 12 stylists and keep track of 5 different types of services? The story with this job began by accident. After that court hearing about the repossession of the car, when I was walking home, I stopped by the salon to get a haircut. Her hair looked terrible after all the stress, and her repaired car was waiting at Danny's, and she wanted to celebrate this new phase in her life somehow. The stylist, a woman in her 40s with bright pink hair, talked about her problems with her previous manager while she was cutting my hair. Can you imagine, girl? He hasn't shown up for 2 weeks, and the clients are booked up. We keep records ourselves and talk to suppliers ourselves. The owner says we need to find someone decent, but where can we find them? What are the manager's responsibilities? I asked, more out of curiosity. Nothing complicated. You make schedules for the craftsmen, work with suppliers, advise customers when the craftsmen are busy. They pay well. $1,500 a month plus a percentage of the profits. $1,500, almost 3 times more than I earned at the restaurant. Do you need any special experience? The main thing is that the person is responsible and knows how to communicate with people. Do you work in a restaurant? Then you know how. The next day, I went to the interview. The salon owner, Lindsay Miller, a woman in her 50s with perfect manicure and tired eyes, talked to me for half an hour. You have no experience in the beauty industry. No, I don't. But I have experience working with people and a great desire to learn. The previous manager also said he had a great desire. And then he disappeared with the cash register. I won't disappear. She looked at me intently. Why do you want to quit the restaurant? It's a stable job. I briefly described my situation, without going into detail about my parents, just that I want to develop and earn more. Okay, 1-week trial period. If you're suitable, you can stay. During that week, I learned all the salon services, memorized the names and characteristics of all the stylists, established relationships with the 3 main suppliers of cosmetics and equipment, and even managed to resolve a conflict between 2 manicurists who were arguing over a client. You're staying, said Lindsay. I haven't seen anyone get up to speed so quickly in a long time. Now, 8 months into the job, the salon runs like clockwork. I know all the technicians' schedules. I know which cosmetics sell best. I know the regular clients and their preferences. The technicians respect me, and the clients trust my advice. My salary has increased to $2,000 a month thanks to my percentage of the profits. This allowed me to rent a 1-bedroom apartment instead of a room, buy a decent refrigerator, and even a coffee maker. These are small things, but they are so important after years of saving on everything. The morning starts at 8. I start my repaired Toyota. Danny really made it like new. And drive to work. 15 minutes instead of an hour on the bus. Freedom. The first hour in the salon is always the quietest. The stylists are getting ready for the day. I check the appointments, receive deliveries from suppliers. Carla always comes in with coffee for everyone. It's her tradition. Laura, a new client, is coming in at 9. She wants to color her hair but doesn't know what exactly. Will you talk to her? Of course. Consulting with clients is the part of my job that I enjoy the most, helping people choose what will highlight their beauty, seeing how they change after their treatments. At 9 o'clock, a woman of about 35 arrives, nervous and unsure of herself. I want to change something, she says. Life is moving forward, I think, and it's time to change my appearance, too. We talk for half an hour. It turns out that she recently got divorced, moved to a new city, and is looking for a job. She wants something drastic, but is afraid to experiment. How about we start small, I suggest. Let's refresh the color, add some light highlights. It'll be drastic, but not shocking. She agrees. 3 hours later, she leaves the salon with a new hairstyle and sparkling eyes. Thank you, she says goodbye. I feel like a new person. I watch her leave and think, I feel like a new person too. Only my transformation took 2 years. I spend my lunch break not in the salon, but in a small cafe across the street. I order a salad and coffee, sit by the window and watch the people on the street. Many are in a hurry. Many look tired. I used to be like that too. After work, I sometimes go to the gym that opened near my house. Nothing serious, just a treadmill and light exercises. But after years of constant stress and economizing on everything, it's nice to finally take care of myself. In the evening, I cook dinner on a real stove in a real kitchen. It's small, but it's mine. I watch TV or read. Lately, I've been hooked on detective stories. Maybe after all the intrigue I've been through, I like solving other people's mysteries instead of worrying about my own. Sometimes my colleagues from the salon come over. Carla lives nearby and sometimes brings homemade baked goods and talks about her 2 cats. Manicurist Jessica introduced me to her brother Michael, who works at a car service. Not Danny's, another service. Michael is handsome, about 30 years old with kind eyes and strong mechanic's hands. We went to the movies twice, to a restaurant once. Nothing serious, just pleasant conversation. After everything that's happened, I need time to learn to trust people again. "You have a strange look sometimes," he said after our second date. "It's like you're always ready for something to go wrong." I guess he's right. It's hard to relax when you've been living in a constant state of readiness to defend yourself for 2 years. But it's getting easier. My job gives me confidence. My own apartment gives me a sense of security, and my car gives me freedom. For the first time in many years, I can plan for the future instead of just surviving. Last Saturday, I went to Danny's to thank him again for fixing my car. He showed me photos of his new workshop. He's expanding and hiring another mechanic. "How are things with your family?" he asked. "How are your parents?" "I don't know," I replied honestly. "We don't talk." He looked surprised but didn't press the issue. Danny is a good friend. He knows when not to ask too many questions. Actually, I think about my parents often, especially in the evening when it's quiet and there are no distractions. I wonder how they are doing. Did they find another place to live after losing their house? Are they still working at the same jobs? Sometimes I want to dial their number and ask, but then I remember that last day when my dad crashed the car and the desire disappears. They made their choice, and I made mine. Yesterday evening, I sat on the balcony of my apartment with a cup of tea and thought about the past 2 years. It's been a strange journey. From a submissive daughter who gave her all for her parents' approval to a woman who can stand up for herself. Do I regret what happened? That's a difficult question. I regret losing my illusions about my parents. I regret learning how selfish they can be. I regret that I had to grow up so quickly. But I don't regret standing up for my rights. I don't regret learning to say no. I don't regret stopping the cycle of them taking advantage of me. I used to think that parental love was unconditional, that family is people who will always be there for you, no matter what. Nice fairy tales, but they are just fairy tales. Real relationships are built on respect, not blood ties on reciprocity, not on a sense of duty, on support, not on exploitation. There is a client at the salon, Mrs. Patterson, a woman in her 70s who comes every week to have her hair dyed. We were talking about family once, and she said, "Honey, relatives are people you share blood with. Family is people who share your life. Sometimes they're the same people, sometimes they're not." Wise words. Right now, my family is Carla with her pink hair and endless stories about cats. It's Danny, who repaired my car at a discount just because we've been friends since school. It's Jessica, who introduced me to her brother and never asks why I don't talk about my parents. These are people who respect my boundaries, don't try to take advantage of me, and rejoice in my successes. And the people with whom I share blood but not values. Let them live their lives somewhere out there, beyond my boundaries. The last time I saw them was 6 months ago, by chance at the supermarket. They were standing in line at the checkout with a cart full of cheap groceries. They looked older than I remembered them. My mother noticed me first. She nudged my father with her elbow and nodded in my direction. He looked over and gave me a brief nod. I nodded back. That was it. No words, no emotions. It was as if they had seen an acquaintance with whom they had once been friends but had long since lost touch. Perhaps this is the best option. No drama, no hard feelings, just two separate lives that once crossed paths and now run parallel. Today is Saturday, my day off. In the morning, I'll go to the gym, then to the mall. I need to buy a new jacket for the fall. In the evening, I might call Michael and suggest going to that new Italian restaurant. The usual things of an ordinary woman who lives her life by her own rules. I look at the repaired car outside the window. 2 years ago, it was a symbol of a dream. A year ago, it was a symbol of struggle. Now, it's just a convenient means of transportation. But that's okay. When dreams become reality, they cease to be dreams and become just a part of life. And that means it's time to dream about something new. Maybe my own beauty salon? Lindsay recently mentioned that she's thinking about opening a second branch. Or a trip. I've wanted to see the ocean for a long time. Or a serious relationship. Michael is a good guy. Maybe I should give it a chance. There are many possibilities. For the first time in many years, the future seems not a source of anxiety, but a space for opportunities. And most importantly, all these will be my decisions, my choices, my life, built on the foundation I laid myself, not on other people's expectations or feelings of obligation. Maybe my parents were right about one thing. I really have changed. Only not for the worse, as they thought, but for the better. I've become stronger. I became more independent. I became myself.